tell you what, guys. She's not only a shower, but it's a grower. So today we're going to start a little YouTube series of me working on this 1995 International 4700, and that's this big service truck. So if you saw the previous video of me and my brother-in-law going to the auction, he got a tractor and I got this big thing. What really attracted me was that big honking crane there. But what I also liked was the engine that was in this thing, because this has the International 466, and for those of you who do not know, the 466 is just a legendary engine. I mean, it is just awesome. Now this is the DT 466 engine. It's the Model P, and P stands for really pump in my opinion. I'd have to look it up, but that's what I always knew it as because it has this high pump. The pump is mounted up so high. But this is all mechanically injected, and that's cool. That's really rare because there's really nothing that's gonna, fault on this thing. The only way you can shut this engine off is by shutting the flow to it. But it's 100% mechanical, so that's really cool. I believe this was a mining truck up in like New York or northern Pennsylvania because of all the mining tags. It's got a lot of like, hey, safety, watch for electrical lines, but it's got a lot of like mining references and like local mining stickers. Plus you have this monster crane too, and this crane is used to pick up some serious shit, or if you're going to work on some heavy equipment. Now that's really why I was attracted to this machine, because this is like the ultimate man service truck, because it's the truck that will not fail. It's completely mechanical. There's barely any electronics on it. This thing is heavy duty. It's got a 10-speed manual in it, and it's got this monster crane. So literally you can do anything with it. And for me, I'm like, man, this is the ultimate extension onto my business before I make this like a full-time gig. So what are we going to do in this video? Well, I figured the first thing to do at least the first thing that I want to do is actually operate this crane. This is an IMT 5200 series crane. I was looking this up. I think this is probably an early 2000s model, so this crane is relatively new to this truck. So yeah, and I want to test this crane. I want to see what it'll do. I fully believe it'll pick up a lot of weight. This is a level. That's not good. There's no fluid in it. I feel like a bartender pouring a drink for the International. There ain't nothing on the stick. What the fuck? Alright. Gonna have to do 10 gallons. Ooh. Alright. I actually stopped pouring and I went underneath the truck, so I was like, shit, you know what? Let me make sure there's no hole in a line or a hole in the tank. All right, 10 gallons. Oh, look at that. That's good. At least we know it's touching. It's all the way at the bottom. So I think this thing probably could use another 5 gallons easily. But I think it should, and I don't have any more hydraulic fluid, so I'll have to get more, but I think it'll be enough for us to try and see if this crane will work. To me, it sounds like the pump is cavitating, like there's no fluid. I got some fluid in here. dogs are having a field day. Sorry about the wind, but what I'm doing is, let me show you, is I'm filling up a hydraulic filter. So the first thing I decided to do is, spin off the hydraulic filter and, change it, because I don't know when it was ever changed. It had a good filter on it. It had a Baldwin filter, so somebody cared a little bit. But again, I don't know, this thing's from 1995, so you don't know who put what in that hydraulic tank. I will say the hydraulic oil looked good. It looked nice and clean. I was shocked. But I don't know when that filter was last changed. The pump sounds like it's whining, so there's either like no hydraulic fluid, or it's low, or the thing's cavitating and there's no it can't suck through the filter. So let me spin this filter on, and then let's check the level of the hydraulic tank. That noise almost sounds like cavitation or something. But I'm going to bring you back underneath, because there's two pumps in series of one another, which I'm not terribly familiar with. So, I'm not familiar with this. Maybe most people are, but I'm not. But from what I can tell, so this is my PTO-driven pump, and this is also my PTO-driven pump. They look very similar. They're the same make. However, they do have different backing plates, which I think is interesting. Now, I think the pump that's making the noise, I think, is this one, but I really don't know. And what I think is interesting is, so this pump right here comes out of this supply hose, which goes to the bottom of the tank. So I get supply here, and then I get discharge here. And this is what goes to my control block. So I'm like, okay, I definitely don't have any pressure from here. I don't have enough pressure being supplied. So my initial thought is, okay, well, maybe my pump is bad, but I could have a bad regulator too. But I'm not too sure how to regulate the pressure going to that hydraulic block. I see a couple valves that might have something to do with it, but I don't know why the regulator would have changed. So I'm trying to decide. Well, I should say I'm trying to decide. I'm trying to figure out also why there's this pump here. So obviously this pump goes right into series with this one here. And then the suction side is here on this one, and there's a plug here where the other one is. But these two hoses go all the way up to the top of the tank, and up top here, this looks like almost like a pilot valve or like a pilot regulator. So I think, and again, I don't know, I think this just sucks oil and dumps it back into the tank. And I don't know, I really don't know why it's doing that, other than to maybe try to cool it. Would that make sense? To get to move it? I don't know though, because why wouldn't the return be okay? So I'm really trying to understand what the hell these two hoses are and do. This isn't supposed to be that loose. That one's loose too. So again, I'm not too sure what the hell this pump does and is supposed to do. It has to do something. So for my next trick, I need to confirm that hydraulic oil, since it's being supplied here, and it's traveling through here, so we know we have flow from the pump into here. It goes to this three-way, I should say, yeah, three-way valve, or yeah, it's a three-way block, valve block, and it looks like it should always be supplying flow to these levers. There we go. feel so bad about the wind. I mean, it's just so windy. Alright, so I'm just going to thread that on a little bit. Let me get some rags. Actually, no, let's just test it as is. Let me angle this up, and the rate of leaking should go up drastically. I don't think it is. The PTO is not fully engaged. I had an air pressure problem at the PTO, and I didn't know that, but I went online, I did some YouTubing, and I read that those PTO pumps, or the PTO itself, wants at least 90 PSI to run. Makes sense. And if it doesn't get 90 PSI, it's not going to mesh right, and it's going to scream. So, and sure enough, that's what my symptom was. It was screaming. So I had to go back, and I don't know what happened exactly, but I was not getting a full connection at the PTO itself, and I couldn't hear any air leaking, probably because the pump was so loud, but it was leaking. So, but I was like, I couldn't have an air leak because the truck is holding tight, but it only works when you engage it. It only leaks when you engage the PTO, so that's why I wasn't able to see it. So, okay, that's cool. So it was getting late last night, and I wasn't filming, so shame on me. That's why I'm explaining it. And I got pissed off. But after I fixed that little air leak, I went to operate the crane, and guess what? The crane was operational. It was slow, but it was operational. And then I did some more digging, and I'll bring you over to that relief valve. But I found out a relief valve was lifted open. So I think a combination of things was going on, because the oil was a little dirty, and that oil filter I took off and replaced was dirty as well. So I don't know if I had a pressure spike or what. Maybe I'll find out down the road. But for right now, I got to reseal that secondary hydraulic pump that's in line of the other one, and I got to put it back together because I want to now test the pump hardier, because I can't test the pump because with that secondary PTO, it's actually leaking. So that's that. Kind of cursing myself for taking this pump off, but I just didn't know. It's what it is. But at least I can tell what it feels like, and I can tell you that this pump is nice and tight. There's like no play either way, or back or front to back. So, but I still didn't need to take it off. Scraping the gasket off this fucking thing. Can't believe how good this thing starts. All right. Let's engage this PTO. Nice, sounds good. I can hear load on the tractor, so that's good news. Let's crank up the RPMs. Right. Second one, let's pull. Oh my gosh. Is that not the coolest thing in the world? Look how fast that thing's moving. Alright, let's rotate. Something's moving pretty good. Just want to make sure I'm not leaking anywhere, because it was wet. Yeah, see where it's wet? We got something leaking. Oh, is this water? Oh, this is water. Alright, that makes me feel a little better. That was hydraulic oil. This is cool. So what's this one? 1, 2, 3. Clearly I know what I'm doing here. Oh, no, that's badass. Look at this. Yeah, it's a true knuckle boom, guys. True knuckle boom. Oh, what's that? You want me to get something for you? That's no problem. Just give me a second. I don't have nothing leaking. I think that's the craziest thing. Oh shit. Look at this. Oh my god. I tell you what, guys. She's not only a shower, but it's a grower. That is fucking cool. I got nothing leaking on this thing. Let's see if the remote works. It says it's on. Extension, outer, option 1, inner, rotation. Let's do, oh. I got no power to the controller, so yeah, I got nothing. I feel like the coolest guy in the world right now. Got me a big f***ing crane. I do got to dive into the controller though, because it would be really nice to operate the remote control feature for this thing. So I'm just taking this cover off, and I know I got voltage at my coil, but I don't know if I have voltage to my controller. Look at that, I got something. 10 volts. 10.6 volts. All right, let me start the truck up. I was expecting not to see any voltage at this controller. So let's see what voltage I got now with the truck running. Can you see that? I got a dirty ground here, you know. 12.5, can you see that? It's my luck, and it just started snowing. And it is freaking cold. Freaking cold. Gotta put my Henderson jacket on. All right. So I noticed that my voltage was dropping out, and like I was getting one solenoid to work, but nothing was moving, which was odd, and that's because the flow controller was dropping out. So I decided to run back and follow the wiring. So I'm in the process of doing that, and this is the main wiring to the truck, and I noticed that this was broken apart and somebody was in here already. So I'll show you why I think I'm having these power problems. Yeah, so I came under here and I saw somebody had ripped this apart, and I'm missing my yellow wire, which is that engine speed controller, which I don't think I need, but I'm gonna hook it up anyway. And then I see that this one looks okay. This is my blue. This is, I don't know what you want to call that, brown, orange. This is my brown. This is okay. And this is my hot. This is my 12 volt, and I noticed that this was cracked. And if I push this out some more, like, you can see a lot of corrosion in there. I mean, there's really nothing there. So this is my primary voltage supply. So hopefully this is my problem. I mean, like, this is a problem. Man, that wind, it is so cold. I think it's supposed to get down to like 6 degrees today. So anyway, I'm gonna cut these off. I'm gonna rebutt these up, and then I'm gonna put heat shrink here, and that way I don't have to deal with this again. We got juice. That's good. So let's do power on, and let's go extension up. The engine stop works. That's cool. So I can shut it off from here. Couldn't do that before. Let me start it back up. So someone's bringing it down. We got ourselves an inspection plate. Alright, what can we see? We see we have a shitload of hydraulic hoses. Man, I wish I knew about this sooner. And I can't really move these things too well. Huh. This is going to be interesting. This will be very interesting. I'm thinking about removing a bunch of these hydraulic hoses so I could just get to it. So I took a couple hoses off here, and yeah, I ended up sending like 12 volts to like this coil, this coil, this coil. I can't get any of them to click except for this coil back here. So is it possible that 7 out of the 8 coils are bad? Maybe, I don't know. I kind of find it hard to believe. I'm hoping these are just stuck. I don't know how readily available these are. I'll have to see. But I'm going to start with this one, take it off, and bring it to my bench and test it. Surprised it's actually wiggling, but I did spray shitload of PB Blaster on here. There we go. she's off. That's the coil. Alright. Let's see if it's a 30. Oh, it is not a 36, and I'm not going to be able to get a socket on there. At least not an impact. Fuck. Oh, man. Let me see what the biggest... Shit. What the fuck? Nothing's ever easy. I don't have the right size socket, so I gotta improvise. Wow, I freeballed that. So we got my custom pipe socket that I milled. I'm using a 3/4 inch regular socket, a 5/8, and righty tighty lefty loosey. Nice. Is that right? The plunger's like stuck. Ooh. Look at this thing. Is that how it's supposed to be? So it's probably supposed to pull in like this. So I pulled all of these hydraulic solenoid valves out. They're inverted, so they're flipped upside down here, just so that they can stay and I could show you. But these are the valves. They did not come out easy, but they are moving just freely. And especially like this. This is the valve stem itself, and then it seats to the bottom of the actual valve housing, almost like the bonnet, kind of. But this plunger seats, and that's what stops your hydraulic flow. So, and these are all spring-loaded until the coil actually pulls it. All of my solenoids themselves, they are all very, very crunchy, but I think they're all working, but they're just, they're crunchy. So I've been spraying purple power on them, and then I'm going to clean them all up. The valve stems themselves, like this one looks okay. If I pull this one doesn't look too bad either, but I'm going to end up cleaning all of these out. I'm going to take these plungers and clean these up too, just because these have been sitting for a while and God knows what type of fluid. So I would rather clean these up because I feel like some roughness here, and I think there's a little bit of like grit or rust that built up over time. So yeah, so that's that. The other thing was I'm going to end up re-terminating all of the connections. And although I was getting 12 volts from the terminals, I'm going to end up putting new connectors on. I also want to put a new ground loop. And I actually think the ground loop may have been the real issue here, I think. Because, well, I'll show you. So I cut the whole ground loop out. And there's like no continuity between these. Yeah, so let me show you what I'm talking about here. So when I put these two together, when I'm measuring resistance, you get like 0.2, you might get 0.1 to 0.3 ohms. That's normal. You're just measuring the resistance of the wire, and the longer the wire, the more resistance you're going to have. So let's plug these ends into the grounding wire. Yeah, I got crazy resistance. Crazy resistance. Sorry about the heater. So, I'm going to remake a new loop because... So if I just supply 12 volts to this coil, 12 positive volts with no ground, nothing's going to happen. It's not going to do a damn thing. Because like the electrons have to travel somewhere, and what you're doing by giving it 12 volts and then directing it to ground, you're giving it a path to travel. So that's what energizes that coil, pulls in the plunger, and then the electrons end and term at the ground. So if you're not giving it a good ground or good connection, it's not going to work. This may have been the real problem the whole time. Why did one of these work? Or I mean, maybe at that one spot there was a good connection to ground. Maybe. I don't know. In any case, I'm going to clean all these up. I'm going to clean the solenoids up, make new connections, and then reinstall them. So the manual says that each of these coils needs to be between 7 and 11 ohms. 7 is like an ideal ohm resistance. 11 is getting to the high end. These coils all look crunchy, but I don't see any of them split or anything. I did clean up the terminals. So I'm just hooking my positive lead to one end, my negative to the other end, and I am measuring the resistance across the coil. We're at 8.1 ohms, and we're stable, so that's good. So let's go to the next one. 8.2 ohms. This one. 8.1. 8.0. 8.1, 8.0. Man, we're pretty consistent here. 8.0. Man, we gonna bat 1,000 here or what? 8.6. This one's a little high, but that's still within the range. 8.5. So that's pretty cool. So that tells me that all these coils are good. We got one that's less than half an ohm higher, but that's okay. So although these are crunchy, they should all be good. And we're going to wait. Well, you know what? I'm just going to disconnect this. So the battery is hooked up. So now... see if this pulls in. Woo! Yes, it does. Pulls in good. So I'm going to check each of these valves to make sure they are traveling accordingly. It's interesting because, you know, when I was giving this thing juice in the truck, I was getting nothing. And now that I'm bench testing these, I mean, look how well these pull. You know, so I'm going to test each one of these valves just to make sure they're pulling in accordingly and that they're not getting caught up or anything. And although I think it's good that we clean the posts of these valves and testing that these are pulling in, I actually don't think this was the problem. I think we really had like a connection issue. Like as soon as I tested that ground loop and I saw like I had such crazy resistance, I knew something was going on. So maybe we took all these out for nothing, but if anything, at least it's ease of mind. And now I know the condition of at least these units. This is the last one. They are all working. So you may ask, well, why not test all the coils and I can hook up all these coils and test them, but I know they're all good. How do I know? Because we did an ohm check, and when coils pull high ohms, there's it's not going to pull in, and if it doesn't have barely any ohms, there's a short somewhere. So this is the solenoid that had the highest ohms, 8.5 ohms, versus the other ones that are 8 and 8.1. So we'll test this one, and this one's pulling in just fine. So that's how I know all these solenoids are good, which I'm happy about. And I think what I'll do now is reinstall all of these into the primary valve block, and then I'm going to button up all of the electrical connections. Like I said, I'm going to re-terminate all the ends. I did make a brand new ground loop for all the coils, so I'll be putting this in, and then like I said, I'm going to change all the connections on the positive end, and hopefully the crane is now working after this, hopefully. Alright, so I retermed all of the positive connections, and then I redid all of the ground loops. I also redid a connection down there to one of the supply valves. I'm not too sure. I think that's actually shuts the supply valve to these to the hydraulic fluid to these coils. I believe that's what that is. So I redid that one too. Then I ran an extra ground to the body itself. So I think that should be good enough. I'm going to start up the truck, get it warm, and while it's running, I'm going to connect all these hydraulic connections, and then we'll test it and see if it works. All right. I think that's everything. Let's see if this works. I'm going to kick on the PTO first and then see if I have any leaks, and then I'll turn the remote on. Hydraulic oil is thick. That makes me happy. Now I got a working crane. I got all the wires right. I got no fucking leaks. Tell you what, she looks good.